Whilst W.G. Grace was adding up his score of runs on the cricket pitch in the 1890s, on this side of the Atlantic, Dr. Herman Hollerith over on the other side was completing the final editions of another great sum, the American census. Whilst W.G. made high scores, the numbers were still within range of his enthusiastic followers. However, the numbers involved in the American census, even at that time, were very large indeed. Dr. Hollerith had designed and built hand-operated card punches and sorting counting machines, and with this equipment the American census was calculated. 1907 was the year it all started for both the British Tabulating Machine Company and for Powers-Summers accounting machines. Sir Raleigh Philpotts had already set up a company called the Tabulator Limited in 1904 to market the invention in Britain and the Empire, and he sent Mr. Everard Green to the USA to secure the patents. On his return in 1907, the British Tabulating Machine Company was formed. At the same time in America, Mr. James Powers was seeking to provide the machines for the next census in 1910. His inventive genius resulted in the first automatically fed punch cards, sorting and printing machines of particular interest to the commercial world. And following this, the Powers Accounting Machine Company was formed in 1911. With both companies firmly established, we will look at them in more detail. The British Tabulating Machine Company in the early days had their designs manufactured in Fulham by Thomas Kesner and Company, and also imported from America, the American machines being altered for sterling and English weights. Hollerith machines were electromechanical, and electrical impulses were used to energise magnets, which in turn controlled the mechanics. The first installation of Hollerith machines was at Vickers Sons and Maxim at Sheffield in 1906, and in 1911 the population census for England and Wales was to be carried out on specially British-built Hollerith machines. The company grew and built a modern factory in Letchworth Garden City, and the company employed 132 employees, and this factory expanded later to this fine building. Tabulators were produced with printing facility, and the original vertical sorter was replaced by a horizontal one capable of sorting cards at a rate of 400 per minute. In 1929 the 45-column card using round holes was superseded by the 80-column card using slotted holes, and this together with the new subtracting facility was a considerable advance. Major customers were the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railways and the Great Westinghouse Company in Manchester, and there soon followed railway contracts in South Africa and South America. The company trebled in size during the 30s and was well able to meet the needs of the government and military during the war. One special role was to produce the secret machines, which were the code crackers used against the German Enigma machine at a base near Bletchley, and here are some members of that team. Number 17 Park Lane became head office for the company in 1948, and a year later another factory was set up at Castlereagh. Sir Cecil Weir was elected to the board in 1951 and became chairman the same year. 1951 also saw the getting together of those members who had served 21 years with the company, and a dinner was held in which 361 members celebrated the start of the Majority Club. The 541 electronic multiplier was exhibited at the Business Efficiency Exhibition in Birmingham in 1952 and was the start of a new breed of fast calculating equipment. The first of these machines being installed with a customer in Liverpool, British Sugar Corporation at Peterborough and Cadbury's in Birmingham. Home and overseas expansion was considerable and new products came along. In 1959 the company employed 9,000 people, and with a fine team spirit which had prevailed throughout the history of the old BTM, and with over 40 computer installations in action, was ready for the next great step. Whilst the British Tabulating Machine Company was busy growing, so too was Powers-Summers. Mr. James Powers in America designed and built mechanical pin sensing, sorting and printing machines, and the company was known as Powers Accounting Machine Company. In 1913, a set of Powers machines was demonstrated in Europe and was an immediate success. Agencies were set up in several countries, and here in Britain, the American-owned Accounting and Tabulating Corporation of Great Britain Limited became the British agent, AC&Tab. In 1918, the Prudential Insurance Company, already well-established users of Powers machines, negotiated patent, manufacturing and marketing rights of Powers machines for the British Empire. A site at Croydon was chosen for a new factory and research centre, where an alphabetical printing and tabulating machine was soon developed. A new small range of 40-column equipment was introduced in 1932. Later, in 1936, Powers 1, even smaller, being only 21 columns, was developed and sold in great numbers to cooperative societies for dividend calculation. Links with France and trading there as Sammers gave an overseas link, soon to be merged into Powers Sammers Accounting Machines Limited. The railways featured as major customers, as did also British United Shoe Company, Hall and Pickles and Kalamazoo Limited. Another famous customer, of course, was Vickers Limited, who in 1945, together with Morgan Grenfell and Company, bought a major share in the company from the Prudential. And in 1955, Vickers became the parent company, Colonel Maxwell having become the chairman in 1952. The head office was in High Holborn. Electronic machines were designed, and the Powers EMP, electronic multiplying punch, and the PCC, program control computer, were marketed. The Samastronic, a high-speed tabulator printer, was also of a highly sophisticated design. In 1957, research was established at Whiteleaf in Surrey, and the Croydon factory was further expanded. Both these companies developed and designed equipment to meet the need and together established a large customer base. So it was on the 30th of January 1959 that Powers Sammers and the British Tabulating Machine Company, after secret meetings, merged to form International Computers and Tabulators Limited, the agreement signed by the two company chairmen, Sir Cecil Weir and Colonel A.T. Maxwell. Punch machines were used to punch the holes in the cards and thus represent the data. By using more than one hole in a column, letters could be represented as well as numerals. Here is an early design. The mercury arc rectifier was always dispatched upside down, and it was used to produce DC electricity from AC. One needed to get the mercury all together in the bowl and adjust the magnetic striker to 1/8 of an inch above the mercury. Here we see the horizontal sorter. Cards were sorted into the required order, one column at a time. For example, account number order. We'll ask Frank Tilley to explain a little bit more about the E3B tabulator.
So you'll notice that these first two counters are used to group indicate, and they only take in the first card of a group, which eventually total prints and gives an indication of, say, the branch number or the salesman number, whereas these three counters are accumulating totals. So that would be a minor total, that would be an inter total or major total, and that would be a final total.
translator catered for the old 10 and 11 pence, and having read in the 10 and 11 holes from the top of the card, outputted the signal ahead of the 9 time. The senior rolling total tabulator had 6 11-wheel Sterling counters and alphanumeric printing. Summary cards could also be punched on a gang punch or reproducer connected to it, to carry data forward to the next accounting period. Paper throwing was controlled by the universal carriage and line feed mechanisms. The balancing tabulator was a small tabulator used to check balances and release bigger machines for the main work and printing. Here the collator had 2 card feeds, and 2 packs of cards could be merged all in the correct order, 16 columns simultaneously. One example of merging would be to group together name and address cards with detail cards for each account. This reproducer machine was used to make copies of all or parts of cards, and could also be connected to tabulators to produce summary cards. Its Geneva assembly caused the card to be moved through the machine in an intermittent start-stop movement. This allowed the punch knives to move in and out of the die and through the card, and also progress the card through the machine. The interpreter machine senses the holes in the card and prints the characters read along the top of the card, thus making it easy to interpret the data. The 902 tabulator was of modern design and produced in great numbers with considerable adding and subtracting capability. Here are seen part of the paper feed device, a plate counter used for adding and subtraction, and a display of the print mechanism. The print unit was capable of printing a full character set on each position across its full width. Some versions had a magnetic core storage system. The 915 tabulator was the last design of tabulators produced, and this had a print unit capable of high speed and was derived from the famous Ash design. The 1202 computer was produced in parallel with other electronic calculators such as the 542, 550 and treble 5 machines. It used valves in its registers, had a magnetic storage drum, and input was on punch cards. Output could be directed to the printer or card punch. These machines were used in commercial and scientific applications.
Power's 45 column slide punch, which was built in 1914 in the United States, and the operator would set up the punching information on these 45 slides by putting her finger in the appropriate number and pulling down. I'll just do a few just to show you. And then when the setup was correct, and if it wasn't, you could always reset it by pressing the release lever. When the setup's correct, you hit the punch bar, it feeds the card, punches it and resets the slides, and there we have the information that I've put in. Later version of a Powers automatic key punch. It punched 45 column cards, which were loaded into the magazine here, and the motor is switched on. The operator keys in on this keypad here, and in doing so, the carriage moves along column by column, and it stores mechanically the reading that the operator wants to put into the card. And when she's ready, then she hits the punch key, thus, and it punches the card in one movement and restores the unit back to clear. It has features like skipping, like a typewriter would have, repeat punching, and gang punching and things like that. And when the card is punched, it appears in the magazine at the back. This machine was used from about 1936 up to probably the late 60s. Well, this machine was the next stage in the punching of the card, effectively. Having punched the cards on the automatic key punch, they would then be passed through a similar machine which would be set to verify, and they'd go through the similar operation again. The cards would then be placed in this machine here, which would check that the first punching was exactly the same as the second. In other words, the chances of a mistake being made exactly the same position twice is several millions to one. So effectively, if the cards pass through here, then they are considered to be verified. 40-column sorter, as its name implies, it sorts cards into numerical sequence automatically at a speed of 400 a minute, and the vintage is very much the same as the previous two machines, that is to say the 1930s right up to the 1960s. The cards joggled and placed in the magazine here.
This machine performs a similar job to the BTM collator and was used for merging cards.
Right, this machine is a very early 1928 Powers tabulator, which used 45 column cards, round hole, and it printed, listed, and you used to push this big handle in. Well, this machine was specially adapted by the apprentices at the old Powers Works at Croydon many years ago to illustrate, for exhibition purposes, the mechanism of this old 45 column tabulator. It's been deliberately slowed down to 1/10 of its normal speed, and a lot of the mechanism has been removed so that the student can understand how the mechanism functions. It started by depressing the start pedal, waiting for the clutch to engage.
The Powers 40 tabulator was part of a very popular and successful range of 40 column equipment and continued in use into the 1960s. The 1301 computer was of solid-state design and had card, paper tape and magnetic tape peripherals. Output was to a fast barrel printer, and this system a major contribution to data processing in large organisations. Here we see the Roll of Honour and the names of some of those early pioneers whose names are recorded on this Majority Club board. So, as techniques and equipment changed, the spirit of those who went before was strong enough to hand over a sound customer and technical base to those to be entrusted with the company in the new computer age.